Well, hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Rider Ramblings. We're off out to Valisi today, which is about half an hour, 40 minutes approximately from here. We're still in lockdown, so we still have to have an attestation, a self-certification to prove, well, to remind us why we're going out, I think. Though in theory it's really to remind us whether it's actually necessary to go out. I think is probably more the answer. I went to the Chiropodist today because one hip is 1 centimetre higher than the other. So the Chiropodists, they don't call them Chiropodists in French actually, they call them Podologues, which is a interesting name, but anyhow, the Chiropodist sort of pointed out to me that I have excess bone growth in my left leg, and it is quite literally 1 centimetre longer than the other one. So he's organised, and he's making actually, which is very interesting. They'll be available this afternoon, so which is about 4 hours after my visit, so those of you who know Chiropodists might be able to tell me they're easy to make or whatever, but he's actually making some inserts for my shoes. Or insert, I think it is, because it has to go into my right shoe. And that will hopefully start to straighten my my legs. I don't know if they will or not, because I'm not a spring chicken, so I wouldn't have thought there's much option for bone growth on that, and it's had a good number of years to gain the extra centimetre, so it has. Anyhow, so yes, it seems that my slipped disc is the reason for this, and it's making me walk a bit strange or carry myself not straight. And as I slipped it a lot of years ago, and I do mean a good number of years ago, it's had a long time to with my strange walking to make me 1 centimetre longer in one leg than the other. And of course he measured everything from the leg which is shorter, and I said, well, he said, well, your shoe size is this. I said, well, no, it isn't. It's not. It's actually bigger than that. And he sort of looked at me as if I was a bit strange, which, yeah, I probably am, but never mind. And so he measured my other foot, and that was a full, in European sizes, 1.5 sizes bigger than the other one. Now, whether that's a result of the leg being longer, I don't know. But idiots everywhere. So anyhow, so my left foot is 1.5 sizes bigger than my right foot, and so he was actually quite surprised when I said, well, my shoe size is this. He said, well, no, it isn't. I said, well, yes, it is. And so we had this no it isn't, yes it is argument for a moment until he measured my left foot, and then he went, okay, yes, it possibly is. And I said, well, it very much depends on the manufacturer of the shoe or boot as to actually what size I take. He seemed a bit strange at that one. I said, well, yes, it does. I mean, you know, some manufacturers don't seem to make them exactly the same size as other manufacturers. And I might take a 42 from one manufacturer, and a 43 from another manufacturer, and a 44 from another manufacturer. And he looked at me as if I was totally mad. That's life. That's what happens. If it doesn't fit, I'm not going to buy it. I'm going to get the next size up. So yes. But then I must admit, I don't just buy footwear from France. I do buy it from other countries. So maybe that, although they're all European countries, maybe they're different size in Germany and Italy and so on. We got some good driving today. So yes, I'll say my boots for my motorbike are 44, whereas my shoes from the UK are 42, and my French shoes from France are 43. So yes, that's useful. We've got construction lorries throwing gravel all over the road. It's a hazard here. Definitely is a hazard in and around Paris, because there's so much construction going on that it's become the norm. So you have to check for it. Anyhow, that was my visit to the Podologue, and about 3:30 this afternoon I will have my inserts to wear, which is good. My girlfriend's going to collect them for me, because I can't guarantee to be back this end of Paris. I'm going to the other end of Paris at the moment, and I can't guarantee to be back this end of Paris for about 3:30, 4 o'clock. I do detest being late for things, which is probably one of the reasons I'm going a little bit quickly, because my girlfriend got back from the market. That's a thing in France, markets. They still have real markets here, not these would you like to buy some leather goods and clothing and knock-off shoes and that type of thing, which seemed to be so prevalent in the UK when I lived there. But here you actually buy real food and real produce in the market. And yes, they do have some, you can buy clothing and so on. It's probably a bit like the UK markets of the early 1970s, where it was mainly just food, with a little bit of clothing and so on. But so the markets are very good, so the French tend to buy quite a lot from the markets in France, and where we are, they're twice a week. They're on a Wednesday, and they're on a Saturday, but they're only in the mornings by about 1 o'clock. That's it, they're finished. They've gone. No longer there. Got a weird one behind me in a Volvo. Who seems to think he's in a Formula One race for some reason. Anyhow, on a different note, I see that Schuberth have brought out a new helmet. Well, it's sort of a new old helmet, should we say. When they brought out the original C4, it was a bit of a dog, to be polite. They rushed its development, they didn't test it properly, they used some cheaper materials like the pin-lock visor and things like this. And although I'm probably a bit behind the times because I believe this was brought out earlier in the year, but I've only just seen it advertised, so I went and looked it up, and it's called the C4 Basic. So you've got the C4, which is the original one, which was pants. You've got the C4 Pro, which has all the mod cons and microphone installed and all the bits and bobs that you need, and so on. And that's a really good helmet, actually. It is fantastic. And then they brought out the C4 Basic. Now, the thing that interests me about the C4 Basic is the fact that they've taken all the electronics out, so there's no aerial or speakers or microphone or anything like that pre-installed. And where they would normally put the control equipment for the integrated control, they've filled that with foam. And the result is that it's now really, really quiet, and it's now back to being the quietest helmet on the market. And that's what interests me, bar none. So I mean, you know, that's it. It's the quietest helmet on the market. So I had a look at it, and it's, although it's cheaper than the C4 Pro and so on, it's still not a cheap helmet, actually. I think in the in France it's or in Europe it's about 400 and something, 450 euros or something like that, depending on where you buy it. You can get it cheaper, you can get it more expensive, depending on where you buy it from. And I believe it's about £450 in the UK, approximately, and again, you can get it cheaper depending on where you buy it from. There is a slight technical hitch, and that's if you want to put a comms unit or a camera on like this, it has to be attached to the outside, so you have to use some sort of stickum, some sort of glue. You can't use the clamp system because the lip is too wide. But apart from that, it does mean you can use whatever you like. You can use a Cardo or a Senna or the Senna camera system that I use, for example, because this is actually clamped on the side of this helmet, which is the C3 Pro, so you can actually use a clamp on the C3 Pro, but you can't on the C4 Pro, I'm told. You have to actually adhere it to the shell outside. So that was the only thing that I would say is a down point. And the other thing which is interesting is you can get two different variants of the pin lock. You can get the 70 and the 135. Now the 70 is very thin and might not work in very cold weather, or might not work as well in very cold weather, but sort of, I would have thought normal English temperatures down to what, you know, sort of about 5 degrees or 6 degrees, it'll probably work just fine. Once it gets below 5 degrees or whatever, then it might not be quite as effective. At which point you would put in the 135mm, which why have we got everybody flashing lights at everybody? Interesting. Interested in that. Never mind. So anyhow, it looks like when this helmet gets to 5 years old, which technically it does at the end of April, but I haven't been wearing it for 5 years. That will happen about 6 months later. I may well go for the C4 Basic. Now I think the naming is wrong, because Basic means it doesn't have all the electronics in it, whereas that's what they mean from Schuberth. I think they should have given it another name. I think they should have given it another name. So yes. But we've got a lorry who's in a bit of a hurry behind. Don't know why, but never mind. We will soon see. So I think the name is not as good as it could be. They could have chosen a better name. I know you've got Pro, you've got C4, you've got Pro. So technically you need somewhere in between. But maybe C4 Quiet? Because it is the quietest helmet on the market now, so maybe that would be a good name for it, the C4 Quiet. You never know. Yes. But anyhow, that's enough of me waffling on. So, oh yes, very quickly, just before we get to the tunnels at Antony, everybody was allowed to go into all the shops last Saturday, so 7 days ago the shops were all reopened, and at the time the number of daily cases of the lurgy was around about 4,500. Not yesterday, but Thursday, which is probably 5 days after the opening of the shops, it had jumped to 12,500 approximately. Not exactly, but approximately. So it seems that allowing people to go into the shops is probably not the best idea in this world, but yeah, it seems that business is more important than people's health. We've got everybody up in the mountains complaining, and there's me thinking, well, you know, hang on a moment. Do you want to kill all your clients and all your, you know, the family members of your clients? then what will happen next year? I don't think they care. They just want money this year, and they'll deal with next year when it comes along. I think we've got to a stage where it's all about money, and it's not about people, and it's not about service, and we don't care about anybody else. It's I want the money, I want this. And I think that's very, very sad. Anyhow, that's enough of my ramblings. So lots of vehicles flashing hazards. I wonder why. Don't know why. Anyhow, that's enough of my ramblings. Thank you very, very much for watching. Please leave a comment. If you know about the C4 Basic, please, I would be very, very interested if you can give me more information about it, because I've just done some research today. I haven't done that much yet, but that's the research I've done so far. I'll have to do a lot more, I think, before I make a final decision. So please leave any comments below. Like, share and subscribe as always, and thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.